I was born in a small village in Afghanistan, where faith was not just belief, it was law, culture, and identity. My father was a respected Islamic teacher in our community. He taught children how to read the Quran. Many people looked up to him. My mother stayed at home and cared for us. She was quiet but strong. I was the first son, so much was expected from me. From a young age I attended the local madrasa. I memorized many verses. I learned the rules, the prayers, the traditions. I later attended a government university in Kabul, where I studied civil engineering. Education was important in my family. My father often showed me that knowledge brought honor. He revealed to me that one day I would represent our family with pride. Outwardly, my life looked stable. I prayed in the mosque, I fasted during Ramadan, I respected elders, I worked hard in school. But inside, I struggled with questions I was too afraid to ask. Questions about forgiveness, questions about assurance, questions about peace. During my second year at university, I met a man named Rahim. He was quiet and kind. He never argued about religion. Instead, he showed me unusual patience. Over time, he revealed to me that he believed in Jesus. He did not speak with anger or pride. He spoke with calm conviction. He explained to me that Jesus offered forgiveness as a gift, not something earned by fear. At first, I was afraid to even listen. In my country, leaving Islam is called apostasy. Apostasy is punishable by death under Taliban rule. I knew the risk. I knew the law. I knew the stories of people who disappeared. But something inside me kept pulling me back to those conversations. Months later, Rahim introduced me to two others who secretly believed in Jesus. One was a former shop owner. The other was once a religious student like me. We met at night, quietly, inside a small mud house at the edge of the village. No lights, no loud voices. We read from a small Bible that was missing its cover so it would not attract attention. I felt peace for the first time in my life. Not loud excitement, not rebellion, just peace. That peace cost us everything. One evening, as we were leaving our meeting place, I noticed a motorcycle parked farther down the road. Two men sat on it. They watched us carefully. They did not speak. They did not move, but their eyes followed us. The next morning, rumors began spreading in the village. A neighbor avoided looking at me. A shopkeeper refused to greet me. Something had changed. 3 days later, armed Taliban members came to my house. They did not knock gently. They pushed the door open with force. My mother cried out. My father stood frozen. One of the men grabbed me by the collar and pulled me outside. Another searched the house. They turned over our sleeping mats. They opened cupboards. They threw my books onto the ground. One of them held up a small notebook where I had written Bible verses. He looked at me with anger. He told me that I had betrayed Islam. He revealed to my father that his son had become an infidel. He showed the neighbors the notebook as proof. My father's face lost all color. Shame covered him like dust. He could not look at me. They tied my hands tightly with rough rope. The rope cut into my skin. They pushed me into the back of a truck. I saw Rahim already there. His lip was bleeding. His face was swollen. The third believer was lying on the floor of the truck, barely moving. We were taken to a small detention building controlled by the Taliban. The room was dark and smelled of sweat and fear. They separated us. The interrogation began immediately. They demanded that I deny Jesus. They demanded that I return to Islam publicly. They said if I refused, I would die as an example. One of them struck me across the face with the back of his hand. Another kicked my legs until I fell. They did not only beat my body, they attacked my heart. They told me my family would be disgraced forever. They said my father would lose his position. They said my mother would suffer because of my decision. They revealed to me that sometimes families are forced to reject their own children to survive. Hours felt like days. They withheld food, they gave little water. They forced me to stand for long periods without rest. When I fell from weakness, they pulled me up again. I could hear Rahim screaming in another room. I heard objects hitting flesh. I heard heavy boots moving quickly. I heard men laughing at our faith. One guard leaned close to me and told me that the court would decide soon. He explained that apostasy required death unless I repented. He made it clear that the execution would not be private, it would be public, so others would fear following the same path. That night, alone in the cell, my body hurt everywhere. My wrists were swollen, my back burned from dehydration. Fear tried to enter my heart like cold air through a broken window. But even in that darkness, I remembered the peace I had felt when I first believed. I did not know then that our names had already been written on a list marked for execution. And the worst part was still ahead. Did not see the sun for many days. I was kept inside a narrow cell. The walls were rough concrete. The small window was too high for me to look through. The air smelled of sweat, dust, and old blood. At night, rats moved in the corners. I could hear their tiny feet scratching the floor. Every morning, a guard opened the metal door with a loud bang. The sound alone made my body shake. He would pull me out by my arm. My wrists were already swollen from tight ropes. The skin had opened in some places. When he dragged me, the rope rubbed deeper into the wound. They took me to a small room for questioning. 3 men sat there. Their faces were hard. One of them held my notebook with Bible verses. He waved it in front of me. He told me I had shamed my father. He revealed that my village now spoke my name with anger. He showed me that to them I was no longer a son of honor, but a traitor. They demanded that I deny Jesus. When I stayed silent, one of them struck my back with a cable. The pain burned like fire. My knees hit the ground. Another one kicked my side. I felt something sharp inside my ribs. Breathing became difficult. They did not only beat me once, they repeated it again and again over days. Sometimes they left me standing for hours. My legs would shake, my head would spin. If I tried to sit, they forced me back up. If I fell, they poured cold water on me and told me to stand again. They reduced my food to almost nothing, a small piece of dry bread, a cup of dirty water. Hunger became a constant pain. My stomach twisted, my lips cracked, my body grew weaker each day. One afternoon they brought Rahim into the same room. His face was swollen, one eye was almost closed. His shirt had dried blood on it. He could barely stand. A guard held him up by his shoulders. Seeing him broke my heart more than my own pain. A commander entered later that evening. He carried papers in his hand. He looked at us carefully. He explained that we were guilty of apostasy. He revealed that under their rule, leaving Islam required death unless we publicly returned. He showed us the paper where our names were written. I saw my name there. That moment felt unreal. My chest felt empty. I thought about my mother. I imagined her sitting on the floor at home, crying silently. I thought about my father walking in the village with shame covering his face. I thought about my younger sister who once looked at me with pride. The commander told us the execution would be public. He explained that it would happen in the village square, so others would fear following our path. He made it clear that our death would be a warning. They returned me to my cell. That night was long. I lay on the cold floor. My body ached from head to toe. My back had deep bruises. My ribs hurt each time I breathed. My hands were numb from tight ropes. I pressed my forehead against the ground and prayed silently. Fear tried to crush me. I imagined the crowd. I imagined the ropes. I imagined the sound of a final command. My heart beat so loudly I thought it would burst. The next morning they brought all three of us together for the first time since our arrest. We were thinner, we were weaker, but when our eyes met, I saw something still alive inside us. They allowed villagers to enter the detention yard to see us. Some came out of curiosity, some came with anger. I saw a man I once helped with his schoolwork. He avoided looking at me. I saw an elder from the mosque. He shook his head slowly. I saw young boys staring at us like we were criminals. One guard pushed me forward and told the crowd that I had betrayed my faith. He revealed that I chose Jesus over my own people. He wanted them to see me as an enemy. Shame is heavy. It presses on your chest like a stone. Later that day, they brought my father to see me. His hands trembled. His beard looked whiter than before. He did not shout. He did not cry loudly. He simply looked at me with deep pain. He told me I had broken his heart. He revealed that the village council demanded he reject me publicly to protect the family. He showed me how much pressure he was under. I could see fear in his eyes. After he left, I felt alone in a way I had never felt before. 2 days before the execution date, the beatings became worse. They tried harder to make us deny Jesus. They promised freedom if we returned. They threatened worse suffering if we refused. They deprived us of sleep. Guards banged on the door at night. They shouted accusations. They wanted our minds to break. My body was weak. My lips were dry. My vision blurred sometimes. But inside, something held me. One final night before the planned execution, they tied our hands again. They moved us to a larger room near the yard. I could hear men outside preparing something. Wood was being moved. Voices were discussing arrangements. I understood that it was almost time. I lay on the floor beside Rahim and the third believer. We were too tired to speak much. But in that silent room, I felt both terror and strange peace fighting inside me. The dawn was coming, and according to their plan, so was our death. That night, they moved us before sunset. My hands were tied behind my back again. The rope was tighter than before. My wrists were already swollen and cut. When they pulled the rope, I felt sharp pain travel up my arms. A guard pushed me forward with the back of his rifle. I almost fell, but I forced my legs to keep moving. They placed the three of us in a larger, empty room near the open yard. The door was metal. The floor was bare. There was no blanket, no mat, just cold concrete. Outside, I heard activity. Men were walking quickly. Wood was being carried. I heard a hammer striking something again and again. The sound echoed in my head. Each strike reminded me that they were preparing for the morning. Execution, public punishment, example. Those words moved inside my mind like dark clouds. Rahim sat against the wall, breathing slowly. His face was pale. The third believer lay on his side, holding his ribs. I could see bruises across his arms and neck. We did not speak much. We were too tired. Our bodies had been beaten for days. Our stomachs were empty. Our lips were dry and cracked. But inside that room, something deeper was happening. Fear was real. I will not hide that. My heart beat fast. My thoughts tried to imagine the moment when they would call my name. I imagined the crowd gathering in the village square. I imagined my mother hearing the news. I imagined my father standing somewhere far away, unable to look. My body trembled. At one point, a guard opened the door and threw in a small piece of dry bread for each of us. He told us it was our final meal. He revealed that the village had already been informed. He showed us no mercy in his eyes. When the door closed again, the darkness felt heavier. I lay on my back and stared at the ceiling. The air was cold. My ribs hurt when I breathed deeply. I could feel every bruise, every cut, every place where boots had struck me. I began to pray silently. Not long prayers, not loud prayers, just simple words in my heart. I asked for strength. I asked for courage. I asked for peace for my family. Time moved slowly. In the middle of the night, they came again. They pulled Rahim out first. I heard shouting in the hallway. I heard something hit the wall. I heard him fall. They were trying one last time to make him deny Jesus. After some time, they brought him back. He could barely walk. Blood had dried near his nose. He leaned against the wall, breathing hard. But when our eyes met, I saw something that shocked me. Calm. He did not look defeated. He looked steady. Later, they pulled me out. The corridor was dim. One commander stood waiting. He looked at me carefully. He told me this was my final chance. He revealed that if I publicly returned to Islam in the morning, my life would be spared. He showed me that the decision was now in my hands. His voice was serious. His face was hard. I felt the weight of that choice press on me. Live by denying Jesus, or die by holding on. My mind thought about my mother again. I thought about her cooking in our small kitchen. I thought about my father teaching children. I thought about my sister walking to school. I thought about the life I would never see again. Tears filled my eyes. But something stronger than fear rose inside me. Peace. Not loud, not dramatic, just steady. I shook my head slowly. The commander's face changed. He struck me across the face. My ears rang. I tasted blood. He told the guards to return me to the room. When I fell back onto the cold floor, my body hurt more than before. But inside, I felt a strange lightness. Near dawn, something unexpected happened. The air changed. I cannot fully explain it, but the heavy fear that had filled the room began to lift. My heart, which had been racing for days, slowed down. The silence felt different, calm, deep, almost sacred. I felt as if I was not alone. No doors opened, no chains broke, but inside me, courage became stronger than fear. I sensed that even if they ended my life in the morning, they could not destroy what had already been planted in my heart. Outside, I heard the first call of morning prayer from the village mosque. The sky was turning light. Footsteps approached the door. Keys rattled. The metal door began to open, and the moment they had prepared for was finally here. They led us outside. The air was cold. The sky was pale blue. I saw the yard prepared for something serious. Wooden posts stood upright. A small crowd had gathered beyond the gate. Some men whispered. Some looked curious. Some looked angry. I saw boys standing on stones to see better. My heart beat slowly but heavily. I searched the crowd and saw my father at the far end. His shoulders were bent. My mother was not there. Later I learned she was too broken to stand and watch. We were placed side by side. A commander stepped forward with papers in his hand. He revealed to the crowd that we had abandoned Islam. He showed them that under their law, apostasy required death. He explained that our punishment would serve as a warning. I felt my knees shake. The rope around my wrists was tight. Sweat moved down my back even though the morning was cool. I closed my eyes for a moment and prayed silently. I asked God for strength. I asked Him to protect my family. I asked Him to receive me if this was my final hour. Then something unexpected happened. A loud vehicle approached quickly from the road outside. Dust rose in the air. Several armed men entered the yard in a hurry. Their faces were serious. The crowd became restless. I saw confusion spread among the guards. One of the new arrivals spoke urgently to the commander. I could not hear clearly, but I saw tension on their faces. The commander looked shocked. He read a document handed to him. His expression changed from confidence to anger. Minutes felt like hours. The execution was suddenly paused. We were pulled aside roughly and taken back into the detention building. My heart did not understand what was happening. Fear and hope were fighting inside me. Inside the building, I overheard guards speaking in low voices. One revealed that international pressure had increased. Another showed concern that carrying out the execution could create political trouble. I realized that something bigger than our small village was involved. By afternoon, the commander entered our cell again. He looked at us with frustration. He revealed that our execution had been temporarily stopped. He explained that we would not be killed that day. Instead, we would be transferred and released under strict warning to leave the region immediately. I felt weak, not from fear this time, but from relief. They removed the ropes from my wrists. The skin underneath was swollen and dark. I could barely move my hands. They gave us simple clothes and pushed us toward a vehicle. No apology, no kindness, only warning. We were driven far from the village and left near a distant road before sunset. One guard pointed toward the mountains and told us to disappear. He made it clear that if we were ever seen again preaching or gathering, the execution would not be delayed next time. The vehicle left us in silence. For a moment, the three of us stood there, thin and injured, under the open sky. The wind touched my face. I had not felt open air freely in days. I dropped to my knees on the dry ground and cried, not loud, just deep tears. We were alive. The persecution had marked our bodies. My ribs needed weeks to heal. Rahim's eye carried a scar for months. The third believer walked with pain for a long time, but the deeper wounds were inside: rejection, shame, fear, separation from family. When I later tried to contact my father, he sent word through a neighbor. He revealed that it was too dangerous for me to return home. He showed sadness, but also fear for the family's safety. I understood. My decision had changed everything. Today, I live in another country. I work simple jobs. I pray freely. I carry scars on my body as reminders, but I also carry something stronger, faith that survived persecution. This story is not just about me. It is about believers around the world who sit in small dark rooms. It is about those who are beaten for their faith. It is about those whose names are written on death lists. If you are a Christian reading this, I beg you to pray for the persecuted church. Pray for strength. Pray for courage. Pray for families who are divided because of faith. Your prayer matters more than you know. And if you are reading this and you feel far from God, if you want to repent and begin a new life, you can pray in a simple way. Tell God you are sorry for your sins. Ask Jesus to forgive you. Ask Him to come into your heart. Tell Him you want to follow Him. Ask Him to give you strength to stand firm. Faith does not remove suffering, but it gives power to endure it. I was once tied to a post waiting for death. Today, I am alive to tell you that light can enter even the darkest prison, and no persecution can silence a heart that has truly found peace.